Yesterday, I was away in Suffolk, and one of the things in Suffolk that I noticed was the crisscrossing of the skies of those wonderful and generous pilots who like to put a bit of aluminium and barium and whatever other nasty things into the sky. And within an hour, there was this carpet, this big thick blanket of whiteness blocking out the sun. We've all seen it 100 times. I've been talking about it on the show for, well, ever since really I started doing these talks. And last night, funnily enough, I had a dream. I had a dream that this was going on, and in the dream somebody stood up and says, who gives them the right? Who gives them the right to block out the sun? Who is above everybody else who says, it's my job to block out the sun? And the people rallied round. They said, yeah, who does give them the right? No, we're not putting up with it. And in my dream, it was a very confusing and energetic dream, like a lot of my dreams are. And people were saying, we're not tolerating this. And they got up off their backsides. And do you know what? Some of them had, I don't know where they got them from, but they got cannons out and they were blasting the aeroplanes out of the skies. Others were forcing themselves together in big groups, and in these big sort of army manoeuvring vehicles, they went to the airports and they burst their way in and they nobbled the aeroplanes so they couldn't take off. They grabbed hold of the pilots out of the cockpit and they put them against the firing line and said, you are not going to do this. And some of them were beaten up. Now, I don't, obviously it was a dream, so I don't condone violence in any way. But it was interesting, this sort of feeling when I woke up. I thought, isn't it strange? In a dream, you can do these things. In a dream, you can gather people together, that people will look up at the sky and say, they're poisoning the atmosphere. They're killing us off. And in a dream, you can rally the troops and you can do all sorts of crazy things, like all of a sudden just find that you have got a cannon in your back room, wheel it out, stick a cannonball in, and by some magic direct the cannonball so it hits the plane out of the sky. Of course, you're not thinking of the consequences of actually killing anybody or anything, because it's a dream, it's not sort of real. But the feeling behind it, that when you wake up, the feeling of going, why aren't we doing something about this? Not pulling out pilots and saying, oi, beating them up or anything like that. But why are we not just doing something to stop this, to stop the weather manipulation? We all know it's going on. We all can see it, the hurricanes in other countries, the continual rain, the destroying of the farmland, farmers looking at their crops going, well, I don't know if I'm ever going to get another crop to grow this year. We know it's happening, and yet we're all still going, oh, well, what can we do? Oh, dear, better go back online and watch some film or go and talk to my friends or just moan about it. We're not actually getting together and doing something. Now, I'm not suggesting that I know the answer, but I know that sitting around just sort of taking it all the time, just acquiescing, going, oh, look, they're blocking out the sun again, knowing that this is a silent war, that this is actually damaging us, that the vitamin D that is essential for life is being depleted from us, deprived, we're not getting it, that we know that these are men and women who are in control of this. What gives them the right? That's the question I'm asking. What gives them the right to block out the sun, which will lead to the extinction of the human race? Who has that power, and why should they have it? And so it's quite easy to think that you can have a dream in which, in your dream, you actually do something about it. People are riled up and they go out on the rampage. I've recently been reading about the Peasants' Revolt. I did a video about it not so long ago, in which back in 1381, when the third poll tax, I believe that year, was rolled out to raise money for wars that people never wanted, and the middle classes, the middling classes, were really put under the pressure, under the thumbscrew. They said, you know what, we've had enough of this. We are marching to London. And they caused a lot of rampage and they caused a lot of damage, and they got hold of the king and they said, you've got to do something about it. And the king, who was only 14 years old, Richard II, did do something about it. He did give them promises that he would release them from their serfdom, that they wouldn't have to pay taxes, that they could move about the country as they wanted to. They could buy and sell land if they wanted to. The sad thing was that having promised all those things, like we see in the government when they put their manifestos out and say, we're going to make this place better, that Richard and his team of advisors, the court and the parliament, renegaded against all that. They said, nope, we're going back on our word. All of that was done under force, under strain. These promises we cannot keep. And many people were hanged, these innocent, well, not so much innocent people, but people who thought that the king was on their side were indeed hanged for the violence and for the disruption that they had, which these elites had caused. And that was in 1381. And yet today, we just see ourselves plodding about going, oh, well, look, they're doing the sky, what can we do about it? Now, I'm saying, I don't know what we do about it, but sitting down moaning about it surely is not the answer. I am proud to have a dream in which the men and women of this country and other countries rallied together and decided, do you know what? We are at war. We're going to stop this. We want sunshine. We want the vitamin D. I'm proud that I had a dream like that. But wouldn't it be great if we saw people actually doing something? Not violently, not hurting people, but actually one way or another putting an end to the dimming of the skies, the poisoning of our air, and the depleting of the sun. Wouldn't it be great if we started to see real action now, before it's too late?